Hi there and welcome. I'm Dori Soukup. We are on Meet the Experts. You know, as a business consulting firm, I'm always getting questions from clients on how to choose the proper equipment and to avoid any mistakes from that process. So today I brought you two of the best experts in the field, Rob and Angela Salisbury. They are the founders of Emergent Technologies, and they are here today to discuss 6 steps on how to purchase equipment and succeed with that process. So I am super excited that they are here with us today so we can explore this topic and really help you in making smart decisions so you can be super successful. So welcome, Rob and Angela. It's
Thanks,
great
Dori.
to have you on the show.
Thank you, Dori. We appreciate being here.
great.
We really do.
This is going to be such a hot topic that people are really looking for and need help with. But before we start into the 6 steps, why don't you share with everyone? I know you're a husband, like the power team here, a husband and a wife.
I don't know about that.
So tell our audience a little bit about how you guys got together and how did you start this company and the success that you have reached.
Well, how we got together could be a very long story.
I like that.
But,
Should we bring out some wine?
It was in a bar, the old-fashioned way. Just saying.
But I think what you really want to know is how we formed Emergent Medical
Yes.
Technologies. So I think that'll be a much shorter story, but much more relevant to today's topic.
Okay.
But we started Emergent Medical Technologies in beginning of 2019. I've been in medical device capital equipment sales for the last 15 years, and I came over into the aesthetics business from selling surgical dental lasers. And I worked for a few different manufacturers over the course of 18 months, and I learned quite a bit about the industry, and I learned about kind of the dynamics of the equipment space in the aesthetics industry. So there's a lot of things that we both felt that we could improve upon with respect to the overall customer buying experience, and you know, a lot of times when customers, particularly newer or younger med spas, are starting out, there's a lot of landmines that these customers experience, and we wanted to create a company where we could help mitigate those landmines, but also create a product portfolio that was going to make sense from an integration and a pricing perspective for the buyers.
And on my end, I really, my background clinically was in occupational therapy, and so I really like approaching anything clinical from as holistic a model as possible. Nice. So just like we worked, both of us, for different manufacturers, equipment manufacturers, they're the reps that will show up and come and see you, and they represent their products well, and they get all excited, and they'll sell you a dream.
Yeah.
And we learned how that whole system works and how we could maybe cut a few of those steps out and circumnavigate some of the minefields.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I heard, one of the common lines in the industry is, how do you get rid of a laser rep?
Yes.
Buy something, because you'll never see them again. And that really resonated with me when I heard that. And I was a 20-year sales professional. I got into the business when just after my 40th birthday. So, I already knew quite a bit about sales and how to approach the customer and really how to create a good experience. So when I heard that line, I said to myself, that's not somebody I want to be. I want anybody, whether I'm a sales rep or an owner of a company, I want somebody to have a great experience. I want somebody to feel like they get their value or their money's worth. And the reality is, with a lot of the bigger manufacturers, there's more bad than good on the device sales side of this business. So
we hear all those stories as well.
So Angela and I, we saw that there was an unmet need in the market, and could we go out there, start our own business and meet that need? So I think so far in the 4 years that we've been doing this, we've succeeded. We've continued to grow because we've been able to execute on that philosophy that we want to bring to this space.
Yeah, what a great value also in philosophy to practice, because it is, like you said, it's so needed, and you're filling a void that is so important in our industry right now.
Right.
We consider ourselves consultants who sell equipment.
Yeah.
be the consultant first, be the answer. If you can help negate mistakes for other people, then you're doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
And it all starts with selecting a great product portfolio. And we have a very strict set criteria, and it needs to check all the boxes. There's about 4 or 5 criteria that we've developed, and if one box is not checked, that product does not make our portfolio.
Yeah.
So
That's great. So speaking of that, let's start with step 1, which is technology.
Right.
That's a huge aspect of selecting the right piece of equipment.
correct.
And it is such a wide range. It's actually, I call it a zoo right now, because
It's
if I
vast,
was just starting a med spa, like, it's so difficult. Like, where would they start? There are so many different types of equipment, so many different technologies.
Yeah.
Everybody tells you they're the best, and it's
They
like,
all do.
so let's talk about maybe the most popular and the most innovative technologies that are out now that don't have to just be lasers. It could be all types of equipment. So why don't we start there and help our community here, let them find out what
Sure.
is the latest and the greatest.
Well, there's a laser is just one energy-based technology. I mean, 20 years ago, if you were getting into this space, you were probably buying a laser because that was the only energy-based or the most predominant energy-based technology that was out there. But today, there's about 4 or 5 very good technologies and they're all as good as laser. So we have radio frequency. Radio frequency does a very nice job. There's ultrasound technology. What else can you add to that?
There's multiple modalities to do every treatment. The main thing that you need to start with is, and this is before you ever look at equipment, you've got to evaluate your market. You've got to know when you decide you're going to open a med spa. I'm going to open a med spa on Tuesday. Great. What am I going to get? Well, the first thing you have to do is figure out what the need is. No one looks at their market first. Everyone I work with, I say your first job before we talk about a device is to see what isn't being used in your area. That means I give them homework. I want them to research their competitors with a 15-mile radius. What services are being offered?
Yeah.
Because then we'll find the hole. And when we find the hole, you can fill it. But if you don't know what the hole is, then you're going to wind up replicating which each
What everybody's
office
doing.
does.
Yeah. So that's what we do with the business plan that we offer clients, actually, exactly what you're talking about. You have to do your market research and find out exactly what's going on.
Which is why having your service is such a wonderful blend with what we do.
Yeah.
Because I know that your clients will get the education they need to come to us with a little bit better direction and guidance.
And I'll say this also: you have to start. You should start out with some type of device. Whether it all depends on your level of risk, and how comfortable you are. But if you're just going to be starting out doing Botox and fillers or threads, they're all great services. But why should they go to you versus somebody that's been in business for 15, 20 years?
Right.
The dentist down the street's doing Botox and fillers now
Yes.
also. So how are you going to survive as a business?
Exactly.
The other question I say to myself, are you looking to really go into business and take the real leap of faith, or are you looking to have just a side income or something that's a hobby?
Right.
If your answer is, hey, you know what, I just want a side income, well, Botox and fillers is fine.
Exactly.
But if you're going to dive all in and you're going to try to make this into a business, you got to start with some type of device, and you got to
So
start.
what's your favorite? What's your favorite device?
Oh, our flagship device is NeoGen, the nitrogen plasma for skin regeneration. But not everybody is ready to make that type of investment. So, you might want to start off with something like a Z-Wave device, if you're not looking to spend over $100,000. And the Z-Wave has a number of practical applications. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
He's referring to shockwave therapy. Shockwave therapy is lesser known. It's using sound waves to restore blood flow to damaged vessels or to create new blood flow. So there's so many applications within the body. If you think of anything in your body, head to toe, that needs healing, shockwave is your best friend.
Nice.
So it's an inexpensive purchase to get into that can work in many arenas. So I can treat cellulite with that. I can treat your plantar fasciitis with that. I can treat male or female sexual wellness with that. So many applications, one low-cost device.
Nice.
So we will sometimes guide patients, if they don't, practices, clients, towards that. If they don't know, do they want to be full on aesthetics? Because it works for cellulite as well. Do they want to be a medical hybrid and be treating maybe chronic pain or be treating more clinical? And so it's a great fit for that.
And we have a lot of folks that are coming from the medical world. They're coming out of the hospital,
Sure.
RN. So, maybe the hybrid practice might make sense for them, aesthetics and wellness. Sexual dysfunction, I mean, it's a very prevalent problem for particularly for males over 40.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money for that, and a lot of people are unaware that there's an organic option out there rather than taking medications
Yes.
or going to the urologist. If you're having and the conversation's really not about, a lot of people use the word sexual dysfunction. Well, it's really not about sexual dysfunction. In some cases it is, but it's really about sexual performance, sexual
Enhancing
And
wellness.
wellness,
Yeah,
really.
wellness,
It's really
health.
all about wellness to me.
And some people are uncomfortable talking about that,
Yeah.
but the reality is it's such an important, crucial thing. And if you have an option that's non-surgical, I mean, these
Why not?
Why not incorporate something like this into your practice,
Right.
and help somebody out, and also at the same time make yourself $3,000 and cumulatively with all the sessions,
Right.
it's just over an hour.
Yeah.
So for
Nice.
a low cost investment, something like Zimmer, if you're looking to just kind of put your toes into the water, the Shockwave Z-Wave would make sense for you.
Nice.
It's about $35,000, and the financial payback, if you have the right marketing plan and strategy behind that, could be a couple of months.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
NeoGen, that's a different story. If you're looking to really take your practice to the next level, and you're a little bit more risky, NeoGen would be a great way to start.
Well, I don't know about risky.
I don't
think
say
if you
it's a
have
risk.
Yeah, exactly. See, we're on the same wavelength
Yes.
here.
I might be.
So,
I'm probably using the wrong word.
That's the wrong term.
I think it's so important to really first is with the business plan that we were talking about a few
Right.
minutes ago. They really need to determine on a budget. How
Yes.
much money is it going to cost me to first
Right.
build the place? How much am I going to invest in equipment? What my return of the investment is going to be? So I think having a range, like you're talking about, with different types of modalities that can fill my menu
Absolutely.
with great treatments that fulfill the need of my target market, it does require an investment. I mean, if you're going to be
does.
in the business, you definitely need to have a number that you're going to
And if
invest
somebody's
in.
willing to have the conversation about ROI, it's very easy to quantify. It's very easy to explain.
Absolutely.
And
But
if,
go
excuse
ahead,
me,
please go ahead.
if there is a budget in place, stick to your budget.
Exactly.
There are great modalities that are as low as $20,000 that have multiple revenue streams. And when we select devices, because that's my department,
Yeah.
we look for that.
Yeah.
I want someone, any investment they make, I want them not to have one source of income. I want them to have 5, 10, 15
Absolutely.
revenue streams
Absolutely.
off of that purchase.
For sure. And I think that's where a lot of people make a mistake is they buy one piece of equipment. Like I was talking with a client of ours the other day, and she wanted to buy a very, very expensive piece of equipment. And she was going to put all that money into one piece of
Right.
equipment. Like, why? In one room, what happens if you want to have another treatment in another room? You tied up all your money into one piece of equipment. So I would rather
Yeah.
you spend a little bit less, buy multiple, so you can occupy more treatments in your place.
Not only that, but what happens to those practices that invest a large sum of money in one technology that does one thing? What happens if the FDA decides you can't
No
use
more.
that
Yeah,
anymore?
you're done.
It's
Or it
happened
breaks
before.
down. Or it breaks
what
down.
happens if it breaks down? It's out of warranty.
Yes.
What happens if you buy from a company that doesn't support you?
Yeah, that's the problem. I want to lead into that actually because that has to do all with the buying process and making an intelligent choice on which equipment. Talking about the warranty, the insurances that's needed for it, what happens if it does break down. And sometimes I think buyers don't really investigate that all the way.
Yeah.
So what would you tell someone? What questions should they be asking to help them make the smart decision?
The same thing, I think a buyer should go through the same process I go through. I'm a buyer.
We go through.
Well, it starts with me. It starts with me. When I'm interested in acquiring another technology, I have to go out and source it and do my research, and I buy it just like an office does.
Yeah.
And I bring it home, and then I use it, test it out. If I like it, I put it in the hands of trusted advisors.
Yeah.
And I say, please evaluate this. Give me your opinion. Give me your feedback.
Yeah.
And then I find out from the manufacturer, how long will it take if this goes down? How long will it take before it's operational again? What is the system to get something repaired, replaced?
Right.
What is the cost to run it?
Yeah.
You can't just think in terms of your man-hour
Of course.
costs. There's a large formula involved in what it costs to run. So, and then the clinical efficacy, which is huge for me.
Yes.
When it checks all of those things, it goes over to him.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I should wait. Because it is the two of us.
It is.
It is a very strict process. So that with Angela, we first and foremost, this is 1 and 1A. I don't want to call it step 1 and 2, but first of all, does the technology work? Does it produce consistent, reproducible results every time? Because not every technology does that. And of course, 1A, I would say, is the safety profile.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is this going to be safe for the patient?
Yes.
That's the most important thing
Absolutely.
above everything else.
Absolutely.
And if we could check those boxes off, I look at the technology I look at it from an ROI standpoint. I look at it, can the med spa or whoever we sell this to, can they make money right out of the gate with this? And is this a good long-term investment for them too? So.
And is it delegatable?
Is it delegatable? Because a lot of folks that are opening med spas are RNs or they're doctors, and they need to they need to be able to duplicate their revenues within that hour amount of time. And I'm sure you tell your clients that too. And then we also look at how easy is it to implement or integrate into the practice too.
For sure.
And that's all important stuff you got to look at.
And the space. And
the space,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things that I saw early on when I was working for a manufacturer was when you're at an event and people are buying equipment at an event, they may not even have their space set yet.
That's true.
I saw someone make the mistake of buying a piece of equipment that ran on 220 volts, and when they got their space, it was wired for 110.
I see that happening all the time, by the way.
Because of the cost of it. It's an enormous expense that people don't anticipate.
Yeah.
So we only carry devices that are 110. Just because I don't want someone to have that $40,000
Bill.
investment.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's talk a little bit about equipment choices and price ranges. We touched a little bit on it, but how many different options do they really have right now? I know one piece of equipment that I advise every single person, it's a must-have for sure, and that's the analysis machine, to start there. Then you need another piece of equipment to do facial rejuvenation. Then maybe have another one for, like what Rob was saying about sexual health. So what would be a good essential amount of equipment they can have without really going overboard?
If you can have an analogy, to your point, a lot of the things we hear from new folks opening up medical spas is that, well, I'm not a salesperson. How do I sell the procedure? And certainly if you have a diagnostic tool, something like an Image Pro from Image, excuse me. Certainly if you have a diagnostic tool, that's going to really kind of help you sell the procedure. You're going to be able to show the customer right there the deficiencies you have, and you're going to be able to design a treatment plan for them.
Right.
And that also helps with the retail sales, of course, which is big.
Yeah.
Beyond having your skin analysis, which is very important, the practice needs to have devices that will draw general population in, and some of them truly are almost loss leaders. Laser hair removal, you have to have it. You have to have it. It brings bodies in the door. You may not make tremendous revenue, so don't over-invest in laser hair removal. There's the technology is so good now and so fast. You shouldn't have to exceed a $60,000 or $70,000 price point to buy a really great system for hair removal.
Yeah.
And that draws people in the door.
right.
A great facial device. So your esthetician can constantly have that revenue and new feet coming in the street. But then when you've got your feet on the street, you need your wow factor. So finding whatever it is you want to specialize in and getting a device for that. I believe my personal choice is NeoGen PSR, nitrogen plasma, or gas-derived plasma devices are leading the way in medicine in all arenas coming forward. And I think it's going to take the place of many other technologies. So
Actually,
I love
I
being
just
on the
saw
edge
the
of that.
results of it, and it's amazing.
It's extraordinary.
Like,
It's awesome.
It really is, and I think if somebody wants, like you said, differentiate themselves, it's definitely a good, safe, and results-driven treatment that they can have on their menu. And when I did the math on the return on the investment, I was like,
Great purchase.
Yeah,
Great purchase.
that is a really great purchase. So
the-
I was all excited about it. So it's definitely on top of my list right now to recommend to clients because it is incredible.
But
And
with other purchases, you know, people will ask about body contouring. Decide what you want to focus on before you invest. If you want to be, if you want primarily body work, then do your research and find great body devices.
Yeah.
But if you want to be more working with the skin, with the face, with the skin of the body rather than actual size of the body, then get a great skin device.
What's your thoughts about pre-owned equipment? Is that something that you're scared about going in? Because I get that question a lot.
Yeah, it's
So
a tough question.
There's another line I'll tell you.
Yeah.
The most expensive device is the one that you buy twice.
Yeah. Okay.
So used equipment, be very careful. They have limited warranties. You're not going to get the support of the manufacturer.
Well, I heard that they changed the programming or something. You can even fix it even if you want to.
Often you can't. If you don't buy a very costly
Maintenance plan or
recertification process, and most of the devices that you buy used, the recertification is between $18,000 and $30,000. Then the manufacturer won't support it at all. So then if it needs repaired, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point because the manufacturer already sold it to one customer. You know, they're not going to support it when the transfer of ownership gets changed.
Yeah.
So a lot of these high recertification fees, they're done by design and they're done to discourage
Exactly.
you from buying into the used laser
Right.
market. So you may think you're getting a great deal,
Yeah.
but
Watch
you know,
out.
the truth of the matter is with any of these devices, it's not that you're going to plug these into the wall and you're going to have success with them, whether it's clinically or financially. You need a team behind you.
Yes.
You do.
For sure.
And the other piece of that to be very aware of is certain devices, large brand name devices on the aesthetics market, if you sell them, you are charged a fine, a penalty, before you. And some of them I've seen as high as $15,000 or $18,000 just to transfer to a new owner.
Crazy.
So just make sure if you're going to look in that market, be very careful. I have seen too many people wind up having to buy a second device within a week.
Yeah. So one thing we talk about in depth to our clients is the type of treatments to have on the menu. So far we've covered different types of equipment that they can actually have on their menu. So if somebody's starting out, and let's say they have a budget of about, let's assume $500,000 to invest in equipment. So what would be those essential pieces that would be your favorite, Angela? I'm going to ask her that question.
Okay.
That I would want to put on a menu and feel proud, know that they're going to produce results for my clients and have a great retention because they're so happy and gain a lot of referrals from it. So what would be,
Absolutely.
like, in your professional opinion, what would be your top, let's say, 2 or 3?
Well, for me, hands down, NeoGen PSR is always going to be nitrogen plasma. I'm sorry I'm biased, but I really am. I love it.
So how much
That's
is
gonna
that?
be
So
number
let's say I
one.
have 500,000. So
It's
how much is it?
135,000.
So, okay, so let's say 134 is out. What would be next?
Of course, the skin imaging.
Okay.
You've got to have a good skin analysis device,
Yeah.
so that's 15.
Okay.
So say we're at 150.
Okay.
You're going to need hair removal.
Okay.
That can vary from 60,000 to 110.
Okay.
So let's say you
Let's
you
say
get
we're-
something reasonable
Okay.
at 75. So you know we're at 225. At the next thing I would go for is a facial device. So hydrodermabrasion, microdermabrasion, and something to drive in. So either electroporation, something to treat the skin aesthetically.
Yeah.
That has no downtime.
Okay.
And those run 20 to 30,000. So I'd have that. And then if you want to get into either body contouring or body work, I prefer to get into RF microneedling because you can do a lot of tightening on the body with it very beautifully. And I think that would round out your portfolio well. If you want to get into body contouring, then you really have two options. You're looking at cryolipolysis or radiofrequency. There aren't too many. Ultrasound, there's one or two devices. Haven't found one that I love yet, so I can't recommend one.
Okay. Well, that would be a very nice menu. So if they do this, plus they do all their injectables, Botox, fillers, threads,
That's
weight
an
loss,
entire med spa.
That's an entire med spa.
And that's
So between the cost of their build out and then if they invest, that didn't even come up to 500.
No,
by the way. We're like around 350.
I'm hard pressed to spend someone's money that much.
Our portfolio, if you wanted to get into our entire portfolio, we are bringing on an RF microneedling device that's very good.
Yeah.
And
Well, microneedling is very popular.
It is.
in
It
med
is.
spas.
and we're bringing on a really good one. So
Nice.
you could literally get into our whole
Yeah.
entire portfolio
Yeah.
for probably right around 300,000.
Yeah,
and,
that's
and then of
amazing.
course there's a lot of support mechanisms that come along.
Right.
with
Well, that's
that.
what I wanted to ask you is the kind of our next step is the training and the support that they would get from someone. So let's say I did buy all these. Now, what will I get?
Right. If you, when someone makes a purchase, of course it depends on the device. Certain things are easy to use, and they're going to be in online training, and then continued support on an as needed basis. Something like nitrogen plasma, which is a unique and beautiful energy, we come in and do a live training, of course, when someone purchases. But one of the reasons that I am constantly working with the clinical team and building that out is because I believe that every buyer needs ongoing support with that. So with our buyers, every 8 weeks I'm offering advanced
Yeah.
clinical training in multiple locations around the US that are free for the purchaser to attend.
Wow.
That way when they add staff, the quality of care isn't dropped. We want to exceed everyone's expectations at all times.
If you go into an established med spa, somebody's been around a little while, you can go into the back room and there's a graveyard of old technology.
Yes.
There is.
And
I see it all the time. I've
the
seen cool sculpting in the closet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's I mean it's the one thing I want to tell the audience at home when you have one of the big manufacturer reps come in and they train these young guys out of B2B sales to come in and they'll tell these new buyers, oh, just buy this. This is an ATM machine.
Yeah.
Let me
I
tell
hate
you,
that.
folks at home, these are not ATM machines. There's a lot of work that goes behind this purchase, from the marketing to the training for you to be successful with this. So if you have a rep that comes in and gives you that ATM machine pitch,
Yeah.
be very
Run,
leery.
run.
Yeah. I'm being nice, of course. Be very leery.
The
Run.
other time to run is if they have an event that you attend and they're plying you with alcohol.
Yeah. What about like protocols, like with the training? Am I going to get a step-by-step of how to use it, how to care for the equipment?
Absolutely, that has to be provided. And you need to ask, as a potential buyer, you need to ask these questions. What does maintenance look like? What is my turnaround time if my equipment goes down?
Right.
One of the fundamentals of our business is that equipment is replaced within 24 hours.
Wow.
We don't let someone go down.
That's amazing.
It just can't happen. We had a case where something arrived broken just a week ago in Texas, and we had to spend $1,700 to overnight them a new piece, but
Wow.
it was there. That's what you have to do. Because
That's
I
good
can't let you have
customer
10,
service, yeah.
I
And,
can't
and,
let,
and I think we're small business people too, so we understand if a piece of equipment goes down, that could be a potential thousands of dollars in
For
lost
sure.
revenue for that day. So, I mean, I know, I've had days where I've lost thousands of dollars in the business. I mean, it's a tough pill to swallow.
It
So
is.
we can empathize with these practices.
Yeah, good. Thank you. So as far as the carrying of the equipment and consumables, we haven't touched on yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how often would someone have to really, like, do you send it in for maintenance, or is it something that they can maintain?
Most of the time they can maintain the equipment. We have either our trainers or one of us touch base with our offices on every 3 months. Practice integration is talking to them every 3 months to see what they need to get to that next level. And when maintenance is due, generally with certain devices, it can be a software upgrade. That's done in person. It's a little
Chip.
stick in the back and we just go and do it.
Yeah.
Other devices just they really need hand holding when it comes to how to clean it, how to store it, and they'll get that ongoing support as they need it.
Yeah. Do you, I'm against moving equipment a lot, and I see so many people like really moving it from one room to another to another. I had a lady the other day, she called me up, she had an oversized lady inside the treatment room, and it was a tight treatment room, and all she did was move, and the whole arm went down crashing, and it was like a very expensive piece of equipment.
That's scary.
So what's your philosophy on not only the size they should be using, but also to maintain it and make sure that they're not moving it around?
You have to know how your device is made. Anything, let's say it's a radio frequency based device, they're very sturdy, they're very stable, you can move them pretty easily and not worry about much risk. Lasers, however, have multiple mirrors in them that can shift a millimeter, and then they require recalibration. I don't suggest you move those.
Yeah.
If it's a diode laser, like with hair removal, easy to move, not a problem. But know your equipment and ask that question. We have certain buyers that are looking for pieces to go mobile.
Yeah.
And there are times when I'll tell them, this is not that equipment. Do not do that.
Yeah. Very good.
I would say most of our devices, though, you can
move them and
Oh,
not,
yeah.
not
Most of ours
worry
we
about
can.
it. That's great.
Yeah.
And what about consumables? Like, what is too much to pay for a treatment? Because they
That's
really
great.
get out
Great
of
question.
hand.
That's a great question. You never want your consumable to be more than 20% of the cost of the average charge of the treatment. Average charge of the treatment. I'm repeating that because many people will be quoting the price you can get in Beverly Hills, but their office is in Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that that
Be
consumable
smart.
is not over that margin
Yeah.
so that you have the profitability.
That's a great rule of thumb. Great. So let's move on to step number 5, and that's probably my favorite topic, and that's marketing and sales.
Yes.
So they have this is what I see all the time. They invest in all these great pieces of equipment, and then they're not doing what they need to do to get them up and running and operational and profitable.
I think that goes back to my prior point where I said these are not ATM machines.
Yes.
You need strong marketing behind if you're going to be successful, and I know that's what you help out with, Dori. We have a director of practice integration, Diana Sellers. All of our offices that buy our higher end equipment like NeoGen, they get her services included with that.
And one of the things Diana's so great about, and I'm going to brag a little about her, she's been in this industry forever. She's a dinosaur, because I know she's going to see this. No. She owned her own med spa for over 20 years, and she was successful with that. She has her marketing degrees, and she's a very creative person. After COVID, she closed down her brick and mortar med spa to focus more on the marketing. But she's got a love and a passion, like we do, to see offices successful. So she gets on an initial call with a potential buyer or a buyer, and the first thing she wants to know is what they're looking to see, what equipment they're looking at, and she designs the menu of services for them and shows them how to put the different technologies together to make 30 or 40 revenue streams out of 3 devices.
Nice.
And she does it from years of experience, and she does it with the marketing as well. So she takes their logo and she brands their graphics, and always does a coming soon video, which I love, for our offices with new technologies that are going in. And
Nice.
yeah, there's a lot of steps that she takes, but it helps to make sure that the profitability piece is there.
Yeah.
And for our NeoGen buyers, we'll come down and do an open house, and that's all included with the package. And Angela, will fly down there with one of our nurses, and they'll, as long as they can get the feet through the door, we can generally make that office, $20,000 to $40,000 on the average in that one evening. So they can put a dent in that investment that they made.
So we are masters at events. I need to talk to you because I can help them make 6 figures during that event.
That's right.
Exactly. And I have done 6 figures at many of them, actually.
Yeah.
But it
because
depends on...
the marketing and sales.
It depends on the marketing and sales, and that's why you're such a good match for
but
us.
I'll tell you why it's important to have like a proper. Most people don't really have a good proper consultation process in place, and we talk about high ticket sales. Because a lot of medical spas operate under the a la carte mentality. They come in, get one thing, and leave.
Yeah.
With the analysis machine for face and really for body as well, they should be able to customize a whole program for them.
Yeah, they should have if you are doing a proper consultation, you should have a roadmap for the next 2 years for those clients.
Absolutely. And thousands of dollars
And
later.
thousands and thousands
And
of
giving them the
dollars.
results that they want. Because it's not just
Absolutely.
about the money, it's about also. But then the other thing that's very important in sales is having that reoccurring revenue model.
Yes.
And that's where a lot of people don't have. So if
Right.
I'm going to invest $150,000 in something, I want to ensure that that money keeps coming in.
Exactly.
And
I-
having a membership model
membership is taking
Membership
over.
is
is
fantastic.
If
what-
you're not utilizing a membership model,
exactly.
you're leaving so much money on the table.
So having, the proper equipment is great and it's very important, but then teaching the team how to get the most out of that equipment is definitely
So that's the other piece.
Absolutely.
You have to have the right team in place.
Yes.
So I don't care if you're an aesthetics office or a dental practice.
Yeah.
If you're a dental practice, you need to have a great hygienist. But in the med spa, you have to have really good, passionate people.
Yes.
People that understand their customer. People that understand the technologies. So, and I'm sure that's something that you educate on also.
Yes, we love it. It makes such a difference, really. And cross-marketing, often we go on site to do training, and we hear clients saying, "Oh, I didn't know you did laser hair removal." Or, "I
Exactly.
didn't know you did this or that."
Yeah.
So simple little things that they can do within the practice to really generate sales.
More and more and more.
Are amazing. They just need to know. So let's move on to step number 6, and that's making the decision. So we've talked about all the essentials. So who do you trust? How do you make that final decision? Let's say they've done all their homework.
Okay.
How do you decide? Who do you trust? Who do you go to?
Well, the first thing I would ask is, when you're having that conversation, that first conversation, how do they make you feel? Do you feel rushed? If you feel rushed, leave. Because that's the sign that they want your money. They don't want your business. They want your money.
And I hear this all the time from my clients. They tell me, but it's the end of the month, and I'm going to get this deal if I buy it today. And
much time do we have left?
tomorrow, I know.
We can talk on this topic.
But this is the truth. And I email back or I call and I say, no, that same price, if they're that good, they should be able to offer you that same price tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Let me just speak to that real quick. So, a lot of times you'll have a rep come in and they're real good. Some of these reps that are out there, they're as good as salespeople as I've ever
Yes.
seen.
And we'd love to have
They're
you.
better than used car. They're better than used car salespeople.
Yes,
They're high end used car salespeople.
They are very high end.
They're very
All you have
good.
to do is look
And-
at their
and-
shoes.
And I'll tell you, and you know what? And,
Not
and,
mine.
and, and they probably live paycheck to paycheck too. So that's the reality. I kind of But anyways, yeah, I think a lot of times they're very good at creating the excitement with the buyer. This is coming from a guy who bought 2 timeshares in a year. So
He loves to get sold. He loves good salespeople.
And I do.
He really does.
I've owned time sharing. They're great.
Yeah,
They're
if you
great.
use them properly. But it's the same thing with equipment. It's kind of the same philosophy. But a lot of times they'll get them excited, and then they'll shove a credit app right in front of them. Doc, I need you to fill this out right now if you want this price.
Yes.
Well, that's bullshit. I mean, excuse my language.
Is he allowed to say that on camera?
We have to bleep that part. No.
Sorry.
Just kidding.
No,
No, you're
it
right,
is.
though.
It is. I mean, the reality is there's big margins on these equipment.
Yes.
And the fact of the matter is, if that rep is not making their quota
Yes.
at the last 5 days of the month, it's amazing that they'll come down 30 to 40% on the deal that they quoted you on 2 months ago. So at that point, it's like, okay, what are we dealing with here? So we have some, our high ticket item is NeoGen. Will we come down in price a little bit? Yeah, it's got to be for a good business reason.
Right. Exactly.
But we're not gonna come down 30 to 40%. But
And we're not going to give you a better price on the 30th than we
Right.
do on the 1st.
Yeah. So if they're shoving the credit app in front of you and you feel uncomfortable with dealing with that rep, well, you follow your instincts. Back away. Back away from the chair or the table, wherever you're sitting at, because chances are, if you've done some time to think about it and you really do want that device, that price is going to be available in the next 30 to 60 days.
The other consideration, and this is the antithesis of what they teach you in manufacturing sales. I believe you should have the demo. You need to see it. You need to feel it. You need to touch it. How do you sell it to your client if you haven't experienced it yourself?
Right?
Because a lot of these reps are trained by their leaders. Hey, we don't demo.
Right.
So when you hear that we don't demo, I've got 7 people that want to buy this.
Yeah.
Well,
Be afraid. Be
Yeah,
very
run.
afraid.
and they all come from the same coaching tree on how to sell these devices. So just understand that too.
Be clear. And we didn't touch on this. If somebody does not want to pay cash, or do you even do financing? Like, how do they go about financing?
Financing is my part of the business. Just understand that if you are a new or a young med spa and you don't have, at least a good solid year and a half of commercial credit history, you're probably going to pay a higher interest rate. But if you have decent credit, don't let the 3 or 4% get in the way of you making that purchase. Take a look at the big picture in terms of what this investment is going to yield for your practice. Is it going to cost you more to borrow that money than somebody that's been around for 5 or 10 years? Probably. But don't let that get in the way of you kind of taking that leap of faith and starting to make money with this.
Another piece of advice that I always tell people is, as soon as you set up your LLC or your S Corp, as soon as you're a legal business entity, get business credit. You don't necessarily have to use it, but you will need it. And so start early so that when you do need it, you have time in business with business credit.
That's very smart advice.
And also make sure, because a lot of the finance companies are going to look at to see your cash position in the bank. So have an influx of cash into your business bank account. Because that's the way they're going to determine the health of the business from the outset.
Yeah. What about leasing versus buying? What's your opinion on that?
So the leasing and financing are one and the same. We call them leasing companies, but they're really banks. And generally, it's a 60-month lease with a $1 buyout at the end.
Okay.
And the reason the way that's set up is because it's tied to the asset. It's not tied to anything else. So in theory, that finance, if you stop paying the bill, that finance company could come in and repossess that asset.
Just like your leased car, basically.
Exactly.
Just like a leased car.
But it's a lease with the $1 buyout. It's virtually the same thing as if you went through your bank.
Very nice. That's great. So what other mistakes to avoid, do you think? We talked about different things, but do you have something that sticks out?
Revenue models out there now, some that are working that sound too good to be true. If it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. So there are some manufacturers that are offering you the chance to use their device for 6 months, and then you keep it if you love it.
Right.
The problem is you're paying, in the end, much more than you would. Make your decision and be comfortable with your decision and move forward. But do your research, and remember, there's no time limit on when you have to buy anything. You will be able to acquire in time Don't let anyone pressure you to do it on a given Tuesday because it's the last day of the month, or you'll make mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah, do your homework. I think that's the
Do your
most
homework.
important thing is
Make
do
sure-
your research, do your homework, try it before you buy it. Make sure the company has a great reputation. Make sure they're going to stand behind you and help you and support you and train you. And when you find that, then that's
talk to other buyers and you know, don't just ask about does the device work, because a lot of these devices are great. Ask about the experience of dealing with the company, dealing with the with the sales reps and all of that.
Yeah.
You know, if I call the sales rep, is that sales rep going to be? Are they going to respond within a timely fashion?
Right.
Regardless of whether it's a technical issue, clinical issue, and so forth, because that's going to be important. You're going to have technical issues. There are going to be clinical questions that come up. That's inevitable. How quickly are they going to respond? So you're going to want to get testimonials from folks that have done business with that company and also that rep, because the rep you deal with does matter.
It does.
Or how about this? Like, you know, I speak at conferences all over, and you hear some speakers address certain pieces
That's
of
my
equipment.
favorite topic.
And, you know, I had a client actually call me not too long ago, and she says to me, oh, I heard this great speaker. He was talking about this particular piece of equipment. I'm going to buy it. And she was like all gung-ho, and I'm like, hold your horses.
Right.
Let's see what this is all about. You have to do your homework, do your research like we're talking about it. And they just, like sometimes
They get
this tunnel vision.
Exactly.
And it's like trying to show them the way and protect them. It's
hard. One of the things to be aware of, particularly for new practices, new med spas, new owners, there are a lot of very well paid key opinion leaders for different devices and different companies. Not that there's necessarily anything wrong, but understand if you're listening to a speaker, there's generally a paid bias. And you have to be careful of that. One of the things that we did when we set up our business, we have people that'll speak on our behalf. We don't pay them.
Yeah.
They speak for us because they become part of our family.
The truth of the matter
and because
is,
they love the technology.
if they love the technology and they feel supported, and you have fostered good relationship,
Absolutely.
they'll take
They'll
phone
do
calls.
anything for you.
They
will.
will do anything.
They'll
I
do
do the
anything
same
for you.
thing with our clients. Like, I have never, ever paid a client for anything.
That's because they love you and they respect what you
And,
do.
and just keep in
Exactly.
mind also, this is also some of the larger manufacturers in this space. They do a wonderful job. They're some of the best marketing.
Yes, they are.
And they have the best sales organizations I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But a lot of the KOLs that are on their board that speak for them, they have a little bit of ownership in that
course,
company. 'Cause
yes.
what happens is when that company's really successful, the end game is to ultimately sell. You see a lot of these big billion-dollar
Yes.
pharmaceutical companies that come in, they want to get into the aesthetic space, and these guys all parachute out with a lot of money.
Yes.
They do.
Yes. So.
I know some
this
people are
has-
going to see this, they're going to hate my guts for this.
They are. Spilling
care
the
less.
secrets. There's a lot
But
more
you
we
know
could
what?
share,
But
we
you know
won't.
what? You have to be an educated consumer, and that's really why I wanted to invite Rob and Angela to come and join me on this, because you want to hear the truth. You want to hear all the mistakes to avoid and make sure that you are going to do the right thing for you, your business, your team, whether you're just starting out or whether you're already open. Either way, because you always want to refresh your menu. And there's always new technologies coming out, so you have to really stay on top of things. Don't think because you just opened and you bought some things, maybe 2 years, 3 years from now, you're not going to do anything. A menu is a very important tool, a very important offering within your medical spa, so you always have to update it and stay ahead of all the trends and the
Yes, you do.
innovation and the competition. So it's very important that we are being truthful and letting you be aware of what you really need to know. So this has been a great
Thank you.
session.
Can I add one more point? Wait a minute. Wait 1
Hold
second.
your horses,
Hold your
Rob.
horses. There's two things that I want to say that kind of feed into that point. One of the things, when I say we're consultants that sell equipment, while I believe very passionately in everything that I sell, I also believe that I don't have the answer for everyone that they're looking for. when people do business with us, they'll call and ask my opinion. I don't just tell them what I think about a device. I'll do my research before I speak to it.
Yeah.
If it's something that I don't represent. But I will also tell them, one of the things we do is tell them what they should be paying for it, because we know.
Yeah.
So we can save, our clients save $20,000, $30,000 with everything they purchase, because we'll negotiate for them to buy something else.
We're doing that with somebody
Yeah,
right
that's
now
very
with,
nice.
with an office just outside of Boston. They're specific on a particular laser they want to buy. I'm going to work with the rep to make sure that they're going to get the very best price.
Very nice.
So, and also if it's something that we don't have and it's a new technology and we think it makes sense for them, we're going to say, yeah, go make that purchase.
Yeah.
So regardless of whether you do business with
Yeah,
us or
but you're not everything to everybody.
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I
it's-
don't want to be.
Just like I'm not everything
No,
to everybody.
but if you have questions or you need some guidance, certainly go to Dori first. Dori's going to be your best option, but you can also reach out to us too. Because at the end of the day, we want to do the right thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice. So before we go, I'd like to offer everybody a gift. If you see this show and you'd like to get a copy of my newest book, you can go to medicalaestheticssuccess.com and receive a complimentary copy. Mention this video, Meet the Experts. And if you too would like to be on Meet the Experts, you can go to meettheexperts.com and apply, so you can be right here in our studio and we can help members of the community just like we did today. Any last words of advice you have?
Oh, I think we covered quite a bit.
We did, I know. Where would they go to find out more about you and your
So you
team?
can go to our website, www.emergentmedtech.com. Our contact information will be on there. Our cell phone numbers will be on there. Emails. We're going to be beefing up our social media over the coming weeks, and we're going to have we're also doing a big digital marketing campaign. But
Nice.
feel free to reach out to us anytime. It's not just Angela and I. We've got a really good team behind us, and we're here to support you.
Sounds great. Well, thank you so much for being
Thank
with
you,
us.
Dori.
Dory. It was
My
wonderful
pleasure.
being here.
Pleasure.
Yes. Until next time, stay inspired.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.